Ellin, welcome to the 20 something podcast.
My name is Ellin. I am the founder of Mentally Fit with Ellin. I had teachers tell me that I wouldn't even go to college. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. Start building the resilience for doing hard, uncomfortable things that are scary for you. Because the more you show up for yourself, the more you do it, the more you're going to believe in yourself.
Ellin, welcome to the 20 something podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. I'll have you give your little elevator pitch, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of work it back from your 20s to today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to be here. My name is Ellin. I am the founder of Mentally Fit with Ellin, which is a therapy, performance coaching, and I do corporate workshops. It's a platform I created. We basically train our mind as we do our muscles. I come from an athletic background, and something I'll probably go into in this episode is a lot of my healing and growth came from exercise. And I took a lot of the skills that I learned from being an athlete. And I believe your brain is a muscle, and you could train that through, therapy, if it's performance coaching, just like you train your body by going through like the hard reps.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my own practice. I left my job about almost 4 months ago.
Wow.
So I'm in a not really transition phase, but
Mm-hmm.
adjusting new phase, and it's exciting. It's new. It's fun. So I'm really excited to share more about that.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear all about that. I love when people come on and they're like newly out of a role and navigating working for themselves. I think that a lot of people in their 20s are striving for something like that, but not a lot of people know how to get there and how to leave that comfort of, I'm not sure if you had like a 9 to 5 or something like that where you have that like stable paycheck every so often.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so I am a licensed therapist, and I
Okay.
went to grad school about like it's almost 4 years ago. So I did my like clinical after grad school. Like it's like the residency of counseling at a group private practice. And it wasn't really a 9 to 5 because I got to pick my own schedule, like with
Nice.
clients, but it was more like I was working like all the time, plus like building on my own platform. And also you get paid by the client. So it's very
Mm,
different.
yeah.
Like a babysitter, I say.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. What got you, were you always interested in doing something within therapy and mental health, or how did that come into fruition?
Yeah. So I went to the University of Hartford for college, and I went in as a psychology major. I always knew I was very fascinated with the brain. I always knew I liked helping people. I'm a very empathetic person. A lot of my soft skills I knew. So I knew I always wanted to go into psychology. I didn't know like I was going to be a therapist. I didn't know I would be where I was now. It was just like the right route for me. That was my interest. And then in college, I was taking a lot of different like psych courses. And what stood out to me, I took a health psychology class and a sports psychology class. And those two really like lit and like a wire in me. It was like electric. I was like, this is it. Like I
Hmm.
like this part of psychology. So my sports psychology professor ended up being a mentor to me in the way. I was like, how can I get into this field? So she guided me to go the mental health counseling route. So I became a therapist, and I specialize in sport and performance psychology because I work with a lot of modern day athletes, some professional, a lot of people who are ambitious. I call them ambitious high achievers.
Hmm.
Who are trying to seek more skills and like chase more excellence, I call it. Very
Hmm.
like open to growth, very motivated, or like they don't know how to take the next step in their life or career, and they are motivated, so they come to me and we look at all different facets. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, I guess that kind of sounds like the beginning of your 20s was like college. So kind of walk me through that process. Was it like an immediate right after school? You said you went to clinical. Like, is that just the route you followed, or what did that look like? And how did we kind of transition through all of those years to now doing your own thing with your own platform?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a learning disability and dyslexia. So I struggled my whole life in school. My confidence was shot. I had no confidence going into college. And I'm sharing this because this kind of plays a role like within my story. Um,
Hmm.
so I had teachers tell me that I wouldn't even go to college. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. So I ended up enrolling at the University of Hartford, and I majored in psych because it's a very like open major and you could take a lot of like different courses, but I really didn't know what route I was going to go because I didn't see myself getting a doctorate degree. Like I'm not the best with school, but I'm more of like a people person, and
Hmm.
I learn differently, so I need to live what I learn, and I learn in a way of like talking things out. So I just the doctor route didn't sound interesting to me, but I was interested in a master's. And throughout my journey in college, I I was always going to the gym. Also like in before my 20s, I was playing like a bunch of different sports.
Hmm.
And in college, I didn't play a sport. So I got into like going to the gym, and then I got into CrossFit. And in CrossFit, that lit this spark within me that I was like, wow, I'm like lifting next to guys. I'm doing all these hard things. Like I feel so confident and seen and heard. And it was so amazing. I never thought I could do hard things like that because I had this other part of me that I always, no matter how hard I studied, I would fail. Um, the teacher would call on me and I would stutter and like my face would turn as red as my hair. I'm a redhead if you don't. The
For the
listener.
people not watching the video.
Yeah. So I was so embarrassed always like growing up. And once I started like being seen and heard and found my inner strength, it really taught me that I could do anything I want to do. Never saw
Mhm.
myself like lifting weights at like CrossFit.
Yeah.
So um it was my like junior year I took the sports psychology class, and I was just seeing so many connections between what are like the mental reps and skills that we build from doing hard things like exercise, like having that athlete mindset that could
Hmm.
be transferable to life, to going through different challenges in life. So often when we go through hard things, we frame it in a way of like feeling so sorry for ourselves, and it feels so defeating, and yes, but it's also you could also have that growth mindset in a way. This is an opportunity. Like what can I learn
Hmm.
from this?
Hmm.
So like slowly but surely as I got older, like obviously like I built on those mental reps and mental skills.
Yeah.
And my senior year of college, I ended up applying to a few grad programs. I knew I just wanted to go right into school for grad school because I just didn't want to take a break. This is what I did. I think looking back, I would have taken a break. This is something I would tell the audience is to slow down from someone who is an ambitious high achiever and like
Mhm.
has that athlete mindset and just always trying to focus on the next big thing. But I think slowing down actually shows so much mental strength and so much um intelligence in a way.
Mhm.
Because going back, I think I love where I am now. I just think I would have chose a different master's program.
Okay. What do
Um,
you think you would have chose?
I think I would have done something more aligned with like performance enhancement
Mm.
or sports or
Mhm.
um Yeah, because I got a general degree in mental health counseling to be a licensed therapist. And of course, I
Gotcha.
love what I do, but I also love the coaching side of my work. Um, and I'm very fascinated in motivation and performance in sports that
Mhm,
I had to seek other classes from different colleges and like other courses to become an expert in that. And I'm still not an
mhm.
expert. I'm still always learning and growing. We're never experts. But I wish I kind of slowed down because I definitely like always felt like in my life like I had to rush through things. And that has bit me in the butt many times.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
okay.
mhm.
So then after grad school, you
Right. I went through grad school.
yeah,
That was through COVID. So that was like a lot. I was working also through grad school. I was a teacher at night for 2-year-olds.
wow,
Sorry, I was a teacher during the day and grad school at night.
gotcha.
So that was a grind. And during grad school, I also, of course, I did. I picked up a nutrition coaching course because I'm also very fascinated how, like, I just want to make mentally fit with Ellen like a lens for looking at the full person, like
Mhm,
nutrition, mental health, mindset,
mhm.
fitness. So I'm a nutrition coach as well.
Nice.
Do that in my performance coaching if clients want that.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, I rushed to finish my degree, which was fine. But it was really hard during COVID too because I was going through so I mean the whole world was going through so much and then it was so hard to do school and working. So sometimes I think it's really important like to slow down and think and process and reflect because I
mhm,
think I rushed through so much and I didn't take a pause and like, okay, what's coming up for me?
mhm.
What am I learning? What's going on? Like I wish I just slowed down a little bit because there is no rush.
Right. Yeah, I think I did the same thing. Like I was in junior my sophomore and my junior year when COVID was like hitting. And then my end of my junior and senior year, I was like, just get me out of here as fast as possible. Like everything was online. I wasn't in my college town anymore. I was like, well, this is a waste of money for doing all of this. So just get me out of here as fast as possible. And looking back, like I try not to regret anything in life because what's that going to do? Learn from it, but don't dwell in it. But I definitely would have been like, all right, like make the most of this time because you're not ever going to be a 21-year-old in college with all of your best friends again, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun in college, no regrets.
Yeah.
After college, it's also an important time to still have fun.
Yeah.
About who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so like this podcast started because of that. Because after college, I just completely lost my identity. I was like, I don't, there's no purpose in life anymore. Like, I'm not chasing a degree. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And just like comparing myself to who I was in college and trying to be that person. But it's actually a whole lot of fun when you let your past self be your past self and you decide to be your present self and actually enjoy
Right?
the time that you're in.
Literally, when I think back of college, I'm like, if the walls could talk.
Right?
If the walls and the bars could talk.
Oh my
The
gosh.
best times with my girls, like truly, just like visualizing it right now.
Mhm.
Um, And also after college, it's such an exciting time. Like, yes, it's
Yeah.
very scary because you're independent and there are a lot more responsibilities and it might feel
Mhm.
more real. But just try to find the youth in things. Try to find the
Mhm.
humor in things.
Yeah.
Everything has to be so serious. And
Right.
that's something my mom used to tell me a lot. It doesn't have to be so serious.
Yeah.
So I would say find the humor in life. In your 20s, young 20s, especially after college, because I do think there is an identity crisis after that. And it makes sense if you're going through that,
Mhm.
listeners. It, I mean, I had it too, and I maybe on paper or it sounds like I knew what I was doing, but
Mhm.
no one actually does.
Yeah.
So if you just focus on yourself and not like around you, and like looking what they're doing and comparing, I promise, like it will give you the opportunity to process and think
Mhm.
and put you in
Yeah.
better situations.
Yeah. 100%. I think to add to like not comparing to other people, don't compare it to your past self either because you're not that person. And I've gotten stuck in that so badly. And I'm like, no wonder you don't feel like you know who you are when you look in the mirror because you keep trying to be your 20-year-old self and you're 24.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like,
It's just
I would
funny.
also compare myself to my younger self, like that girl with dyslexia. My face
Mm-hmm.
would turn red. I would always stutter, like
Mm-hmm.
very, very curly red hair.
Mm-hmm.
Just felt like different.
Yeah.
And now in my adulthood, it's sometimes I have to put a reality check that I I made myself who I am. Like I'm not my past self. It's a part
Mm-hmm.
of me.
Yeah.
It's very special to me and I will always carry it with me, but it gave me so many lessons and it brought me to where I am today.
Yeah.
We all have like
Absolutely.
these different parts that we could cherish and nourish and hold
Mm-hmm.
on, but they're not all you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You can't let those things be your narrative for the rest of your life, or that's just always where you're gonna be stuck at
Hmm.
for sure. Okay, so as far as starting your own platform and getting out of your regular job, like what made you decide to kind of go the entrepreneurial route and build your own thing? Like, was it always something that was on your mind while you had a job, or was there something within your job that you were like, I think I could do this on my own? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah. So it kind of started, I'm gonna just bring back to college because during college I started an Instagram page called like Fit with Ellin, and then I changed it to um I don't even remember. It was like all these different names, and all I would do is I would post workout content and put an inspirational caption, take what I learned in sports psychology, and I became
Mm-hmm.
a nutrition coach, and I was just like posting, and I was getting followers, friends, family, like randoms.
Yeah.
And then I continued it in grad school, and what I was learning in grad school, I would implement it more in like my content, and I would start posting quotes and all these different stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and after college, I went to my first job, which I was there the whole time during my residency period. Um, and I loved what I did. I loved my clients there. But I just didn't feel like it was a specialty what I wanted to go into. I had a few clients that I felt like was my specialty, but a lot of it was areas maybe I wasn't so like interested in. So and I like doing it, obviously, like, but you can't specialize in everything.
Yeah.
You can't need,
I wish.
right? So that was like really hard for me because I was like, I like to do it all, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like impossible because I have these other passions. And I was just finding like I was so drawn to like building my coaching business at the time because I couldn't work independently as a therapist, so I'm licensed and pass my boards and get all my hours. So
Mm-hmm.
I started like coaching, mindset coaching and nutrition coaching. And I like tried to change jobs a few times, but it just like never worked out. Like being a therapist, it's really hard when you're working private practice to like when you work for someone else, it's hard to get clients because
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's just really it's hard and it could take a big transition period. So I just decided to stick it out where I was for like those 3 years. And I was like, when the time's right, I'm just gonna do my own thing. And this past summer, there were a few things that happened that it just made sense for me to take the leap of faith and just go my entrepreneur self. To answer your question, the reason why I did the entrepreneur route is because I learned no one is going to make the path that I want. And if I want something,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do it and I have to create it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's what I did. I mean, it was scary. It is scary, like that financial leap of faith. That yeah, I had to learn like all this stuff that
Mhm.
starting your own private practice, liability stuff, lawyer stuff, like finance
Yeah,
stuff. It's really
yeah.
hard and it's it's who I am. It's a part of my identity. So
Mhm.
it's not like I'm like always working, but it's also like yeah.
Okay. So do you have like a office space or is it all remote based?
So I'm remote for my
Okay.
therapy clients. Coach some of my coaching clients will meet up at like
Mhm.
a cafe or a quiet area. Right now the therapy is online.
Online.
Yeah,
Okay.
I might be open to getting an office space. Just I'm in the beginning of, you know,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship, so I'm just trying to like financially make the right choices.
Mhm. So what exactly does like the mentality sports performance coaching look like and entail? I'm not super I mean, all of that sounds so cool and I'm really interested in that as well. I was an athlete my whole life. I love sports performance. I'm a personal trainer, nutritionist, and the mental side of things is really cool to me. But when you're like coaching somebody and working with a client, what does that entail? Like, what are y'all working on, and what is the process of that?
Yeah, so we're looking at like what are their goals, what are they struggling with, and where they want to improve. And we're taking skills like visualization and applying it like in the boardroom when you're delivering
Mm-hmm.
a pitch, when you're presenting,
Mm-hmm.
when you're really, really angry and you're about to walk into, your house and you have your wife there and your kids, and how are you going to respond rather than react?
Mm-hmm.
We're doing mental reps, which are like affirmations, mantras. What are you saying to yourself when things are hard? How are you picking yourself up? Like as an athlete, this is what I train for. That's a mantra. Like I'm strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something you could say to yourself before you're scared of, let's say, going on a podcast. Like I was nervous before, but I was like, I'm a professional. I could do
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about who I am. So
Mm-hmm.
we develop these certain phrases and we dive into them. Like, what's the meaning behind them? What's your why?
Mm-hmm.
So everything I'm very intentional and purposeful, and I'm more of a skills oriented type of therapist, coach, and action oriented. Obviously, there's the process of talking about it and talking about struggles and learning how to like validate them and heal
Mm-hmm.
from them. So but we always try I always try to set intentions and takeaways with my clients to help them take action instead of just like sit with all of it.
Right.
I do encourage if my clients are going through something, um, we do sit with the emotions because that's like really important, but we learn how to accept them and not have like judgment towards them and notice them.
Mm-hmm.
I like using the mantra like curiosity over judgment. So like let's be so
Right.
curious why you're feeling like everyone's looking at you or you're feeling angry.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why. We dive into that and
Okay. So as far as like bringing clients in, is it like what is that process? Like how do you get a mental coaching client or a sports performance coaching client, or are they all kind of ingrained in one and you do everything with everyone?
yeah, so therapy is obviously different. Therapy clients are
Yeah. Yeah.
the coaching, they'll come to me, they'll be like, hey, I really like your style. I see you online, or I was referred to you.
Mm-hmm.
People know me in the community. I want to work on this and that. And like I really customize my approach towards the client, like what they want to work on. So we'll probably dive into mindset. We'll talk about performance at work, also relationships. We'll talk about how are they responding or reacting to situations,
Mm-hmm.
their communication style, exercise, nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes, I find that some of my clients, we don't really dive into nutrition because it's so separate. So I'll do nutrition like in just a single session because it's too much to dive into all those things at once.
Right.
But it's always in my mind, like when we're talking about things, like looking at the full person and what are they ingesting in their mind and body.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever go, do you ever pair mentality and nutrition together, like the mindset around food and people that
Yes.
struggle in that area?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. So what's the goal with the business and the platform? Like what are you hoping to achieve now that it's like your full-time thing? You said 4 months ago is when you
Yeah,
pursued
about
it full time. Yeah. So what's the next big thing you're hoping for? Like what is your focus now that you have all of your time back to give to it?
so my goals for Immensely Fifth Ellen is I really look up to Mel Robbins, so I want to create a brand and a vision,
Mm-hmm.
um, like a platform. And what I'm trying to do is create like a program that clients could buy that's financially friendly for them to do on their own without paying for like one-on-one services with me. I find that like a lot of people want to do that on like their own time, and it'll be a little more like cost effective and all that. I'm also trying to create a newsletter. And right now I'm launching a corporate program to go to corporate companies and talk about like mindset and performance and
Mm-hmm.
how to how does stress affect their performance, in the boardroom, trading money or making hard decisions. A few weeks ago, I actually spoke to a tech company. They're being acquired. So I spoke to the women's team actually about transitions, like the whole software is changing. There's a lot of fear and anxiety about, maybe layoffs. So we spoke about that. We spoke about how to work together. So I really love doing that. I love doing the
Yeah.
team building and talking about performance and mental health and like the workforce.
Yeah. That's so cool. How'd you
And
get into the corporate side of it?
um I'm super fat like I've always been very interested in when I say like modern day athletes, I kind of mean like modern people who like work out for like an hour and a half, and then like have like full-time jobs. And I
Mm-hmm.
find having that is an athlete because you're juggling so much and you're working out, you have these high performance jobs. And I got so fascinated at what could you take from the hour of the day that's really in the other 23 hours in the boardroom, in like
Mm-hmm.
being creative, like starting a startup, the entrepreneurship route, and like being an entrepreneur myself, I was super fascinated with the performance aspect and how do I motivate myself? How am I so disciplined? So I got very fascinated with like the work environment,
Mm-hmm.
and this opportunity just like kind of came my way and I did it and I really love it. So now I'm trying to really launch a program to get into gyms, even businesses, finance it, like finance companies, startups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think um I've had multiple people on here talk about the transfer from the work you put into the gym and how that reflects into like your day-to-day life and your professional life. And I think it's so important for people to understand that most successful people in this life are people that dedicate time to moving their body and dedicate time to their health,
Yeah.
because what you do for your body as far as like physical and like nutritionally, what you put in is what you get out. Like it's all you, it's all your effort, and then that's what you see results wise. And I think that can translate into performance in your job or in your relationships or in anything else if you can actually see those physical results coming from your effort. It's easier to be able to place that into things where maybe you're not going to see those results as quickly or as concrete as you would in the gym.
Yeah. Sounds like you've learned that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well, I
awesome.
see it at work all the time. So,
I'm so curious to know about that.
yeah.
I have so many questions for you.
I mean, yeah,
Where do you work?
I'm an open book. I work for Crunch Fitness
Oh,
part-time,
cool.
and then I also work for a small company remotely doing their like nutrition side of things. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so going back to Mel Robbins, she just like brings up so many different things in my mind as far as entrepreneurs and mentors and people that others look up to, but it also makes me think about books and books that people can read to help get started with their um mentality and shifting their mindset. So, do you have any recommendations for somebody that might be getting started and maybe like a lighter read instead of throwing them into like a David Goggins or a type of thing, which I love David Goggins. His book Can't Hurt Me is one of my favorites, but sometimes people are like, "Whoa, that's intense."
Yeah. I I I love podcasts. So first I'll start with
Mm,
podcasts. I think
sure.
listening when you're walking is so powerful. Like I'll tell my clients like to be curious when they're walking and listening to a podcast and just like looking around and thinking and visualizing like what they're listening to and like what they want to what their goals are from that. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're listening to like a motivational podcast or like a self-help one, what's coming up for you? Like where are those feelings and like channel that.
Mm-hmm.
Um some podcasts that I really like. Jay Shetty's a good one. Mel Robbins.
Yeah.
Um there's so many good ones. And books, it's I'm I just bought the 5 a.m. club.
Oh, nice.
So I'm gonna start that.
Yeah.
I'm reading also The One Big Thing. It's like focusing on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
My bookshelf right here. Oh, Mindset is a good book by Carol Dweck.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great one. I highly recommend. Oh, What Everybody is Saying is really cool.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's really good. Oh, Life is a Sport.
Mm.
Those are some like CrossFit like coaches like Ben Bergeron. Love his
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't do CrossFit right now, if people are wondering.
Uh,
We took a
have
little break.
have you read Relentless by Tim Grover?
Yes, love Tim Grover.
Yeah.
Two books are great, so get on that. Love that
Yes.
book. I totally forgot about that. So
Yeah.
thank
That's my all-time favorite book. That book like changed my mindset completely. And he writes it in such a good way. Like it's not sometimes self-help books, quote unquote, can be just boring and like so too much logic in there and it's like oh my god, but he writes it almost in like a storytelling way which makes it so much easier to comprehend and visualize and more of like your your scope in your life versus just like all these concrete things and you're like okay I got to do this and this and this and this and this and then you're like so overwhelmed.
you. Yeah.
Going back to you taking that entrepreneurial leap, what would you say was the hardest aspect of that in any realm, whether it be like a business side of things or your mentality or anything? Like, what would you say the biggest struggle was?
I'm thinking of a few.
Go for it.
Um, the finance aspect is very scary.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things I could say, but I'm trying to be intentional with what I'm saying because I want it to like really resonate with people, like the things that the people don't talk about.
Yeah.
The finance is really scary. So obviously having a stable, not stable because I got paid per client,
Mm-hmm.
then starting fresh and being so vulnerable online and trying to do so much to get clients to build my caseload, it's very hard and very draining. And there were so many times where I could have given up. But I truly believe in myself and I really rely on a lot of the mental skills that, I teach my clients, like the visualizing and the mantras, and that's what keeps me going, like journaling too.
Yeah.
So the finances was always really hard, and that's why I didn't do it sooner. I was
Yeah.
scared. So that always held me back, which is valid. Um, but you can do it and things just come together. It's just I don't know, I just like believe in the universe sometimes and it just like gives you opportunities.
Yeah.
So that was really challenging. And then also because I was doing everything my own, like just like I'm that type of person, I like to do things right. So I just wanted to make sure like I was covered by, liability insurance and going off on my own. Like I want to make sure all my forms are good and I'm covered and just like the stress of just working, um, being in like the healthcare field and um making sure I'm like doing the right thing
Mhm.
because I never did it before. I didn't know. Like I always
Right.
so I had to learn. I my dad helped me a lot. Had like mentors. I asked a lot of questions. And the biggest thing I actually learned from this is ask questions. It's never a dumb question.
Yeah.
Like ask, be curious. That's why I always say curiosity over judgment. Be curious, 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 curious. Like
Mhm.
always be curious in life.
Yeah.
That's how it'll get you success.
Mhm.
Like if you're talking to someone and like, let's say if you're on like a date and it's like a bad date, instead of thinking, oh, I want to leave, just like be curious. Be like, what can I gain from this? Like, what in his mindset can I learn?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
literally just be curious. And that's what I'm telling you creates like positive emotions, like self-love, because you're not judging, you're not creating like a negative narrative in your head.
Mhm.
So I've just learned how to be curious. I would
Yeah.
talk to this person, talk to that person. And I'm still like a sponge. I'm still like learning.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that. I think asking questions and being somebody that is okay with not always knowing the answers shows more intelligence than being somebody that always has the answers. I've learned from so many successful people that I've had on here. Like, I've had people come on here, and before I even start the episode, they're like asking me all these things and they're so curious about me and blah, 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 even though I asked them to be on. And that's something that I've learned just within this last year is take the ego down. Like
Oh,
you're not the expert in everything. Ask as many questions as possible, absorb it, and then that just helps your confidence even more. Like, yeah, I know these things, but there's so much more to learn.
yeah. And how humbling is it when you listen?
Mhm.
You learn how to listen. Listening is a skill.
Mhm.
There are different types of listening. There's like me listening, you listening, and like us listening. Like me listening is for my own intentions. You listening is like you're kind of like focusing. You're like let's say you were just asking me questions and not letting me finish my thought. You were just like getting through the questions. That's like
Yeah.
your intentions. And then
Yeah.
us listening is that we're going kind of like what we're doing right now, back and forth. We're having an open dialogue. And it's like
Mhm.
we're doing it for the both of us for like this setting. So you want to aim for the us listening.
Yeah.
It's
I
so much more empowering and so much more intentional, meaningful, and you come out feeling so satisfied because you will learn so much, and then the other person will feel satisfied too. And it's all about relationship building. It's all about
yes.
quality, not quantity, quality.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Everything's a conversation. I was just talking to my dad about that the other day as far as anything in life, whether you're doing a podcast or interviewing for a job, or you're going to go ask somebody you look up to help you in some area. Like, people get so worked up about stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's just a conversation between two people. Just open your mind to absorbing something from somebody else and be curious, like you said. And there's no reason to be all stressed and tense about it because it's just two people talking.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I love how you said that. And that's so nice. I talked to your dad about it.
I have a very close relationship with my parents. I'm super lucky.
Thank God. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very grateful. They are the reason that I am here today and the person I am. It's something I'm very blessed to say.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing to hear that sometimes.
Yeah. It reminds me too to, like, in these episodes, tell the listeners, like, even if you don't have that, it's so important to have somebody else in your life that you can go to with questions or for advice, or somebody else that is going to believe in you when you might not believe in yourself, and have that mentorship. Like you said, you had a lot of mentors and you had your dad to help you through that transition of things you had no idea how to do, because they don't teach us that in school. Like I didn't know what an LLC was. I was like, what
Me too.
what?
What?
Yeah.
It's so true. It's so important. It's so hard sometimes to be your own advocate to find like mentors, but it's probably the best gift you'll give yourself.
Hmm. Yeah. And it, like we were talking about, it just stems from one conversation. If
Question.
Yeah, if you look up to somebody, go ask them about them. Go ask them a question or say hello, introduce yourself. And if they blow you off, then, that's their own problem, their own issues. But majority of the time, people are going to be willing to help you.
Absolutely. And also like when you ask questions, like they feel valued and heard.
Hmm.
So
People
it's,
want to talk about themselves.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I,
awesome.
I love that for you.
Oh, thank you. So, as far as like what I mean, I have an LLC, I have all of that stuff, but as far as being in the healthcare field, what what did that entail? Like what all did you need to do to be able to start this on your own outside of like just the basic business stuff? Was there other like liability stuff and insurances that you needed to acquire, or what all goes into that?
Yeah, so you could either a therapist could do like a PLLC or an LLC. You need liability insurance that's going to cover you for your clients. God forbid if someone sues you or God forbid something happens.
Hmm.
Um, Paperwork. So I have confidentiality paperwork. I have um, practice policy paperwork. I have social media paperwork. Like
Yeah.
I'm not talking about you on my social media. Social media is a fun educational resource.
Hmm.
I will not follow my clients, but you could follow me.
Hmm.
So just like covering myself with that, just because if people are wondering about that, like we don't have dual relationships with our clients. So it just like it protects the therapeutic relationship. I'm not going to be friends with my clients and I don't want to see what's going on in their life because I value what's coming up like in session. I don't want to be blinded or have any biases. So
Yeah.
not looking. And if
Gotcha.
you follow my page, I love that for you. But I will not follow you back and I won't look at your page.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I
Uh,
can imagine there's a lot of different steps that go into starting your own practice.
yeah. Also like starting your own bank account, like so
Yeah.
in my 20s, like I'm just not good with like I've never been good with the finance. Like I just don't have that side of the brain. Like I don't understand. I was never strong with
Right.
finance stuff.
Hmm.
I would like to say I'm very conscientious with money spending, but
Right.
the finance aspect of things and yeah, I had to ask my dad and he was very helpful and my mom has been helpful too, but my dad has
Hmm.
been helpful with that. And
Yeah.
if you have any lawyers in your family, ask them. My uncle's a
Yeah.
lawyer, so I reached out to him and he's been so helpful.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think there's so many great resources online for sure to start a business and to get all of the help that you need. But I think if you have people in your life that are business owners or work in the legal side of things, getting that help and those or like referrals, like I needed an accountant for the first time in my life and I was like,
Forgot about that one. Yeah.
what? I don't like taxes, what?
Yep.
um but like utilizing my parents referrals for that, or maybe you
Yeah.
have a friend who owns, they're like, hey, work with this person, like networking again,
Oh,
ask
big.
questions.
Yes. Yes. Networking is like my love language.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm always trying to meet people and network and form connections and learn.
Hmm.
Networking is so powerful.
Yeah.
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 Especially here you go.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say it's it's about who you know in this day and age, and networking makes the
Absolutely.
world go round.
It is who you know.
Hmm.
It is who you are. I believe this. I don't know if people are going to agree with me, but I don't care what college you go to. I care about your work ethic, who you are as a person, your values, how you treat other people, your listening skills.
Hmm.
That's what I believe could make someone a success, not what school you go to. Not everyone
No.
needs to go to these insane schools. Um, Anyone could be an entrepreneur. Anyone could do it if you want that lifestyle and if you want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. If somebody else can do it, so can you. Just
Totally.
takes a different path maybe for you, a different route, different steps, but it's doable. If it's out there and somebody else is doing it, it's doable. You just got to find the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, looking back on the 20s, what would you tell somebody else that's in their 20s and maybe they're unsure of the next step, or they're wanting to do something bigger, or they're feeling a little bit stuck? Looking back on everything you've done and where you're at and what you've learned, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them? Where would you kind of lead them?
I would tell them start doing small, hard things slowly. Start building the resilience for doing hard, uncomfortable things that are scary for you. Because the more you show up for yourself and the more you do it, the more you're going to believe in yourself.
I like that. Small, hard things like what? Like, what would an example be?
If you are at a 9 to 5 and you're so unhappy there, a small, hard thing, make a decision to go on LinkedIn every single day and send out your resume. And that could be a hard thing for people is because there's obviously resistance to doing that because it's scary and they don't know if they'll get accepted. They don't know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Another small, hard thing, if you want to get into exercise, maybe start with 30 minutes instead of an hour,
Mm-hmm.
4 times a week, 3 times a week.
Right. Okay. So find your goal or something that you're wanting and break it down into
Exactly.
really small steps, and then take those steps individually. Maybe for 1 week you do one, and then the next week you do the next, like that type of thing.
Yeah, and definitely be patient through it. Like,
Mm,
don't take on more. There's too many people, what I see and know from like my father have this black and white thinking, which is they're yes or no, good or bad, all in or nothing.
mm-hmm.
There needs to be balance,
Yeah, I agree 100%.
middle ground. So
Yeah.
too much exercise isn't a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not.
Cool. I like that. I think that's a good place to leave everybody at, in a good concrete step for people to take, something for them to take with them and be able to implement into their lives. But as far as for everybody listening, how can people support you, if they want to maybe work with you or follow you? Where can we do all of that?
Thanks. So my business name is Mentally Fit with Ellin, Ellin, Ellin with an I.
Okay.
um, and I'm on Instagram. My that's my website, mentallyfitwithellen.com. I'm
Okay.
taking new clients. So you go to my website, fill out the form that you want to book a discovery call, which is basically a 10-minute free call to hop on, see if we're a good fit, talk about what you're looking for. And then we could chat about that, or you could DM me on Instagram. And that's really the best way. I will
Okay.
respond to you within 24 hours.
Awesome. I'll put all of that in the show notes for everybody. So if they want to follow you and follow along on your journey or reach out to you about working with you, that'll be there for everybody to find you and move forward with whatever they're looking for.
Thank you so much for
Of
having
course.
me.